Afternoon to all of you. Special good afternoon to you if you're watching this service live online right now. Earlier in the state of Maryland, we experienced some rain in our area, and I know how it is when there's raining. Most people like to watch church from Bedside Baptist, so if you're watching online now, and that's you, we appreciate you for tuning in, but we thank God for technology to be able to do this. Hey, we're continuing in the series that we started last week called Holy Matrimony, the Prequel. And the whole premise behind this series is that we believe that the only way to, well, not the only way, but the best way to have a holy matrimony is to start before you actually get married, to begin to develop some new understandings about marriage and to get some things straight in your life before you get married. So that way, once you're married, it's a lot easier for you to manage all the things, all the challenges and troubles that marriage sometimes offer. And so last week we set up the idea that if you're going to pursue marriage, the driving force behind your pursuit of marriage should be God's purpose and not just happiness. And we talked about how sometimes in our world we really pursue this idea of having a happily ever after. But in actuality, when it comes to marriage, we should really be pursuing the idea of having a relationship that can fulfill God's purpose for our lives and not just bring us happiness. And so we talked about that last week. And today we're going to continue in this topic of the things that we should do or consider before we get married. Now, what I want to do today that's a little different is I really just want to speak from my heart today. Just kind of, have a conversation with you about some things that I believe we need to take into consideration before we begin to get into marriage and pursue marriage. There is a huge problem in our culture, in our society, when it comes to Christians pursuing marriage. That problem is that many of us as Christians pursue marriage sometimes, or even if you're not a Christian, you just really want to have a marriage that God would be most pleased with. You're trying to pursue it, and you want the results that a Christian marriage or a godly marriage bring. However, our mindsets when we approach that pursuit is the same exact mindset that we had before we was committed to God or before we became a Christian. And so we have the same mindset that people have that are outside of the Christian faith, but we expect a different result. And that's a huge problem in our culture. We're doing the same things, participating in the same behaviors that the secular world participates in. However, we want a godly marriage, and we want a godly spouse, and we want a godly relationship. And it's just backwards. So if you're single and you're pursuing a relationship and you want a godly relationship, then we have to begin to think differently about relationships and love and sex and romance in general. I'll give you an example. I hear a lot of singles sometimes come to me and, they say they meet a guy and they say, yeah, he's a nice guy, but he's too nice. He's too much of a good boy. And I like a guy that's a little rough around the edges, And it's just like, whoa, okay. You want a Christian man, but okay. And then, so they look for someone who got a little bit more gangster in their swag. They want a gospel gangster now and something. And so it's just backwards. I hear some guys say, you know what, yeah, I want a good Christian girl, and she's nice, but she's a little bit too Christian. She's a little too churchy for me. I need a girl who, because they're a Christian, and, some guys, they Christians, but they still want to do the little things they do behind closed doors anyway. So they say things like, you know what, yeah, I want a lady in the light and a freak in the dark. And that's just the mindset. And, that's the same mindset that they have in the secular community. Not taking into consideration that everything that happens in the dark eventually comes to. And so we try to have these God-fearing relationships when we're single, and we try to go into these God-fearing marriages and these Christian relationships. However, we still have the same mindset that we had before we were a Christian, or the same mindset that people have that aren't even trying to serve the Lord a little bit. And the Bible says in Romans chapter 12, verse 1 and 2, it says this, and so, dear brothers and sisters, I plead with you to give your bodies to God because of all he has done for you. Let them be a living and holy sacrifice, the kind he will find acceptable. This is truly the way to worship him. Now, we're cool with that. We want our bodies to be the temple of God. We understand that. We want our bodies to be living sacrifices. But a lot of us can't put into practice, or we haven't put into practice what verse 2 tells us to do if our bodies are truly going to be a living sacrifice. It says this: don't copy the behavior and customs of this world, but let God transform you into a new person by changing the way you think. Then you will learn to know God's will for you, which is good and pleasing and perfect. We begin to learn that all we accomplish in this life, or all that we fail to accomplish, is a direct result of our thoughts. All we accomplish or we fail to accomplish is a direct result of our own thoughts. And so many of us are trying to accomplish a Christian relationship or a Christian marriage. However, we're thinking the same way they think in the secular community. And then we're scratching our heads wondering, why is the divorce rate so high in the church? And why is it so hard? I'm a Christian and my relationship should be different. Why does my relationship look the same? Because my mindset hasn't changed. My perspective hasn't changed when it comes to approaching relationships. And so today, I want to kind of just talk to you from my heart. I want to give you 3 fresh perspectives that I believe you should consider if you're single. 3 perspectives that I think that will really help you or save you from a lot of heartache. It will really help you in your relational pursuits. And some of these perspectives are just kind of, they're different. They're new, fresh perspectives. But let me just get into it. Here's the first one. Discovering yourself is more valuable than trying to discover a future mate. Discovering yourself is more valuable than trying to discover a future mate. Let me kind of explain what I mean by that. Now, well, first of all, many of you don't have a problem with that perspective. You will probably agree with the perspective. It sounds like something that you could agree with, that you can get with it. It sounds like something that you don't have no problem doing. You see the value in it. You begin to realize that, hey, if I really want to find someone that has all the qualities that I'm looking for, I must first know what I'm looking for, and that makes sense to you, and you understand all that. However, our behavior doesn't suggest that we really, really find the value in that perspective. Because we tend to spend more time focusing on the hunt than the hunter. We spend more time pursuing relationships and trying to talk to people and trying to meet people and trying to get with somebody. I mean, every single day of our lives, we're on this continual pursuit path, trying to find Mr. Right, trying to find Mrs. Right. We wake up in the morning, we get ready for work, we get on the metro and we're looking around, getting off at every stop just to go to another car just to see if we see somebody. We're always pursuing. We get off work, we, had to stop past the grocery store, and we walking up and down every aisle. You went in the grocery store for one thing. You done gone in every aisle, just in case you might get noticed, right? We're always pursuing. And so we never have the time, and we never put the energy into focusing and discovering the things that we need to know about me, because all my time is wrapped in trying to understand who she is and getting more information about who he is. And is they dating somebody? Is she dating somebody? Are they in a relationship? And that's all our time. Instead of trying to figure out what are some of the things about me that I need to understand. What are some of the things about me that I need to know so that I can grow? I like what John Maxwell says. John Maxwell says you must first know yourself in order to grow yourself. I got to learn some things about who I am. And okay, well, maybe that's not you. Maybe you're not always pursuing someone. Maybe you're always in a relationship. You ever heard somebody say, I just can't be without a relationship. I got to be with somebody. And they're always in a relationship. You go from relationship to relationship to relationship. In March, you was with Tony. In April, you was with Craig. And then when you came down to September, now you're dating Leroy. And then, you're just always from relationship to relationship to relationship, month after month after month. And if you will look over the course of your life, between all the relationships, the time you spent dating people, and then eventually when you get married and the time you spend in your marriage, you've technically spent more time in a relationship than you have single. And we never have no time to really focus in and begin to understand some things about ourselves. We're just going from relationship to relationship. We break up with somebody at noon, and then at 8 o'clock that same night, we already out on a date with somebody. The guy leaving out our apartment with their box, and then the new guy's pulling up in the parking lot. Just bouncing. And if you're a guy, you probably already started a new relationship before you've ended the relationship you're currently in. Yeah, I just haven't let her know that it's over, but I'm going to let her know, but it's all about you right now. We just go from relationship to relationship, and we never take the time required to sit back and begin to explore and discover some things about ourselves. And then when we do have time that we're not in a relationship, we spend all of our time talking about the last relationship and what they didn't do right and what they should have done and what they could have done and all that stuff. You ain't even in a relationship no more, but all your time is wrapped up with that person. And in a matter of speaking, you probably still currently are in the relationship if they're taking all your time, figuratively speaking. And so we spend all our time focused in and wrapped up on an individual when we should be giving time focusing on ourselves. I like the way David says it in Psalms 139. He says this, search me, O God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. Point out anything in me that offends you and lead me along the path of everlasting life. Keith Battle says it this way, Lord, show me me. Show me who I am. Expose those flaws that are in my heart. Show me where I'm being anxious at. God, expose who I am to myself so that I can begin making the necessary corrections. I was in this men's store not long ago. I was looking for a suit, and that's not something I typically do because we don't wear suits at church. We just kind of dress like this. So I only need a suit when there's a special occasion, a funeral, wedding, something to that, court date, something like that, right? And so I'm at this men's store, and I'm looking for a suit, and I went on the wrong day. I went into the store, and it was a lot of people in the store. So the sales associate says to me, he says, I'll be with you in one moment. I'll be with you in a little bit. Just go ahead, you can start looking. So I started looking in the store at the different suits and things, and I look in this one particular section, and I'm holding up some suits, and I'm saying, that's a nice suit, but not quite what I'm looking for. And I hold up another suit, and I say, that's pretty nice. And I'm starting to compare and contrast the different qualities about the different suits. And I say, that's a nice texture. And this one got pinstripes, and this one doesn't. And this one got that extra lining to keep you warm, and this one is kind of thin. And I'm just doing all that stuff, right? Comparing these suits, say, I might look good in this one, I might not look so good in that. And I'm going back and forth. So about 15 to 20 minutes go by. Now, I know that doesn't sound like a long time, but for me, that's a long time. I don't do the whole shopping thing. I like to go into the store. I know what I want, get what I want, and get out. I don't spend a lot of time in the store, doing all this, picking up stuff you never want to get and all that stuff, looking around. That's just a waste of time for me. In fact, my wife and my daughters aren't even allowed to come to the grocery store with me because they just take too long. It's just too long going up and down every aisle. I go in, I get what I need, and I get out. Spend all this time, and then, you go to the store, and they got 15 shirts at the register. You only go and buy one shirt, but now you got to tell the register, cashier, I don't want this. So now they got to take time and put stuff back. I don't do all that. Some people go to the store, or go to the mall and walk around the mall just to find something to do. That's what the TV is for. I don't need to be walking around no mall and find nothing to do. Just walking around. So anyway, 15, 20 minutes go by, and finally the sales associate comes up to me and says, hey, did you find anything you like? And I say, yeah, I saw a few things, and I like this, and I don't like that. He says, okay, well, let's start from the top. He says, what size suit do you wear? And I was like, whoa, wait a minute. I didn't know I had to know my size and stuff. Because I ain't been shopping for a suit in a long time, so I didn't know my size. So I said, well, I guess like a large or something like that, So he did the same thing y'all did. He laughed at me. He's like, well, man, what's your number? What's the size? You regular, you long? I said, oh, man, I don't know. So he grabbed a little measuring tape and started measuring me. He got all my sizes together, and he said, man, you know what? You're looking at the wrong suits. None of these suits fit you. You need to be on the other side of the store looking for the suits in all the wrong places. I spent 15, 20 minutes. That's a long time for me now. In this store, looking for suits in all the wrong places, looking at the wrong suits that would never fit me, all because I didn't understand something about myself. Same thing happens in relationships. We spend a whole bunch of time and a whole bunch of energy talking to people and going out with people that will never suit us, that never quite fits us. And when we spend all this time and energy wrapped up in this individual, if we would have just taken a little bit of time to think about and consider who we are, we would have saved a lot of time out on dates, eating ice cream and going to see Devil Wears Prada and all types of stuff. Here's the thing. We got to stop being so pressed to be in a relationship. We got to spend more time focusing and learning about yourself. Being self-aware and discovering yourself. Now, this is just my opinion, okay? I think what we need to do is we need to give an equal amount of time to a relationship and outside of a relationship. This is what I mean by that. If you've been dating a person for a whole year, the relationship didn't work out, and y'all had to go your separate ways, which is fine. Now, if you've been dating that person for a whole year, you need to spend another year just by yourself. Equal amount of time. If it took you a year to get attached to that person, it ain't going to take you a day to get unattached. It's just not going to happen. Now you're in this new relationship, and they wonder why you still talking to your ex. I mean, and so you give yourself some time to begin to understand yourself. And I'm not talking about when the relationship is technically over, but y'all still talking and y'all arguing and still going out. Y'all say y'all not together, but y'all look like y'all said. I'm talking about after all that's done, then the clock starts. Just give yourself some time to focus in on yourself. Now, okay, maybe it's maybe it's a little different. Maybe you've been with a person for 15 years. Well, I mean, you may not have to wait the whole 15 years to get into another relationship, all right? That'd be a shame you've been with a person 15 years and you just now figuring out that she ain't the person you're supposed to be with. That's another problem. We're going to talk about that in a second. But just give yourself some time to discover yourself, to learn who you are. Here's the next perspective. Wise singles build friendships and avoid dates. Wise singles build friendships and avoid dates. Let me explain to you what I mean by that. When you build a friendship with a person, you can begin to see who they really are. If you meet a person you're attracted to and they attracted to you, and it's all about just getting to know them better so you can be in a relationship with them, you may not see who they really are. They may just show you who you need to see so they can get with you. And then once they got you, then I bumped into someone a while ago, an old friend, and I was asking her how things was, and she told me I hadn't seen her in church, her and her husband in church for a while. And, she was telling me that they were doing well and that she was going to a new church. And I was like, okay, how you like the church? And she said she liked the church. And I said, how does your husband like the church? She said, well, he doesn't go. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, he went to church with you when you was at the other church, right? And she said, yeah, he went then. But he didn't go to church when we first met. Then once we started dating, he started going to church. And then once we got married, he stopped. I was like, whoa, you got. Now, I didn't say that to her, but that's what I'm thinking in my head. Because people, they fake a salvation if it means getting you. They run around the church, get baptized, take communion. They take the little classes and everything. Check. and then they jump into the relationship. You got to take the time to get to know a person with no strings attached. You see, the problem in our society is that we put such a strong separation between friendship and relationships with significant others. It's such a big, bold, strong separation. We say, oh, that's just my friend. It's just platonic. We could never have a relationship. I don't even look at you like that. No. And it's just friendship. And then we meet somebody else, somebody we probably shouldn't even be with. We jump into a relationship with them. And then now it's just like, our whole worlds are wrapped into them. And now we quote unquote fell in love. As if love is an accidental thing that just happens to us. Like people just get victimized by love or something like that. Just like it's a car accident. Like I don't know how it happened. Like you just fell off a cliff or something like that. How you fell in love. And you hear people say, you can't help who you love. You just can't help. Yeah, I know they on drugs and they sell crack and all this stuff, but you just can't help who you love. I just fell in love with them. I don't want to be with nobody I got to fall for. That's straight up. Love is a choice. He said, I can't love my friend like that. I can't have a relationship. Let me tell you something. It's a lot easier to develop romantic feelings for a friend than it is to try to develop a friendship with somebody you've already been romantic with. You can try to. In fact, the Bible even talks about that the greatest love that the world has ever experienced has been between friends. Look at John chapter 15, verse 13. It says this, there is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. Not no greater love to lay down your life for your boo. Develop a friendship. And out of that friendship should come relationship. You hear older people say all the time, yeah, I married my best friend. Well, let that be your story too. But you got to have a friendship in order to marry your best friend. People get married and they say, yeah, that's my best friend. That's my, yeah. Hey, I'm going to say it can work sometimes, but I'm saying that's the exception, not the rule. Develop friendships. Get to know a person with no strings attached. The problem is that many of us don't even know how to develop a friendship. We don't know how to develop a friendship with someone with no strings attached. In our worlds, it usually goes like this. I see someone I'm attracted to. We start talking. That's what we call it when we're not technically together, but we can't talk to nobody else, right? So you done met the person on a Monday. Y'all was on the phone all Monday night into Tuesday morning, on instant messenger all day at work, got off work just to be on the phone all night again. You've been on the phone for 24 hours straight. Your phone bill done jumped up and everything. Now you got to make this person one of your fave five, and it's just crazy, right? So now we're talking, and then it goes from talking, and then we have sex. We might as well be honest. We in church. So you have sex with a person. Now the person moving in with you. Now you're in a committed relationship. Just backward stuff. And nowhere along that timeline did you ever have a moment where you develop a genuine friendship. Because when you develop a genuine friendship for somebody, you accept them for who they are. Flaws and all. Adam says, when he saw Eve, he didn't say, God, man, this is the best you can do. He didn't say, God, you know what? You could have made her a little less mouthy. He didn't say none of that. He said, in the New Living Translations in Genesis chapter 2, it says, at last. In other words, finally, she's here. This is everything I've been waiting for. You got to develop a genuine friendship with someone. How do you do that? You got to stop going on all these little independent solo mission dates. No, seriously, you and that person, y'all just met, and already he picking you up and taking you to some restaurant with the lights all dim, you tripping over stuff just to get into the place. They got soft music playing and the waiter bringing all types of wines and desserts and stuff. You ain't building no friendship, that's a date. You know what happens after that? All right, so you say, well, I don't even do it like that. See, Pastor, I go out in groups. So you done gone out with 3 other couples. That ain't a friendship building activity. That's a date. You and 3 other couples and went to Kings and Million. You call this a group outing. So they in the back seat all bunned up, kissing each other, patting on each other. They go to the roller coaster, and one couple in the line, and she's sitting on top of him, and the other couple in the line, he nibbling on her shoulder, and then the other couple in the line, they wiping sweat off each other's back, and then you and this lady done gone into the line, and y'all standing there, and y'all like, well, I don't know. You don't know what to do. You don't know you want to put your arms around her. You supposed to hold her. You following suit. Then you get in the roller coaster line where the roller coaster, you got to sit in front of the person. That's how you ride it. No, that's a roller coaster. You ride it, the person sitting between your legs. That's a date. That ain't no friendship thing. Matter of fact, if you're trying to get to know a person, it's 2 things we typically do that we should probably never do. Go out to eat and go to the movies. No, for real. Let me tell you why. At that setting, you really can't get to know a person. You're not doing a lot of talking. You definitely ain't talking in the movie theater unless you go into some old ghetto movie where they just talk through the whole thing. But you're really not doing a whole lot of talking at a restaurant either. Let me tell you why. If you ever go out with a group of friends, right? Before the food come, it's real loud. Everybody laughing, joking. When the food get there, you can hear a pin drop in there. It's so quiet because you eating. You know what I'm saying? You probably, it's rude to talk with food in your mouth, number one. So then you talk about the person ain't got no manners. Well, you done took them on a date where they got to talk and eat. They ain't got spaghetti hanging out off their chin and stuff. Set up an event where you can invite some people over, just people in general. You bring some people over, and then you can just have a big group event. No strings attached. And you can begin to see this person for who they are without it being a whole lot of pressure to get with them. Have an event. You invite couples, you invite single people. You invite, if you don't know nobody, invite your next door neighbor. Just stage people. Do whatever you got to do. You go outside, say we're having a game night, and bring people in. If they start talking to somebody else, then let them talk. Just watch. Get to know them, no strings attached. Build genuine friendships and avoid dates. It's going to save you a lot of heartache. Here's the last perspective. Start girlfriend and boyfriend relationships slow, and when necessary, end them fast. And that's real. What we do is we start the relationship quick and end it slow. We done jumped into some relationship with somebody. We just met them. We just only know them 2 days. You done jumped in a relationship, and now it's taking you 2 years to break up with them. You done dated them. They done already showed. You done already seen it's not going to work. And you say, well, I'm trying to work with them on it. I'm trying to work with them on it. They changing, they changing. All right, you can go ahead and work with them on it. You're going to waste a lot of your time and a lot of their time too. It's going nowhere fast. You're just in a relationship. Y'all ain't doing nothing. Y'all just relating. Fussing, arguing, kicking, screaming, going through all types of turmoil. For what? Maya Angelou says, when a person shows you who and what they are, believe them. You ain't got a question. You didn't show me who you are. You get in a relationship with a person, now you try and change them. You met them in the club, now you don't want them to go to the club no more. Just crazy stuff. No. Start slowly. Figure all this out before you get into it. If they real flirtatious before you get with them, start slow. If they always hanging out with their friends before you get with them, start slow. You done jumped into it, now you want them to stop flirting, stop hanging out with their friends. You in a relationship now, you shouldn't be at no club. They like, well, you had no problem with it when you was in, I met you. That's my point. Just crazy stuff. We think so backwards about relationships. Well, I don't want to date no church guy. They corny. I don't want to date no church girl. They corny. All right, go ahead back out there, date some knucklehead, and then come back crying and saying, yeah, I should have. We gotta. Y'all need, all right. Luke 6:45 says this. A good person produces good things from the treasury of a good heart. And an evil person produces evil things from the treasury of an evil heart. What you say flows from what is in your heart. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. Just listen to them for a little while and you'll see exactly who they are. Stop spending all this time in these relationships. If it ain't working, then get out. Bye. See you when I see you. If I don't see you, I won't be looking for you. Just keep moving. Move on. Look, so, all right. We got to change our thinking. We got to change our perspectives. We have to change our thinking. God wants to change us into a new person by changing the way we think. We can't keep moping around here saying, well, there ain't no good guys out here. There ain't no good girls out here. Things like that. Take some time, understand who you are, understand the way you think, and then you might be seeing that there are a lot of good guys out there and a lot of good girls out there. You've just been looking for the wrong thing. Take some time to consider some things. Build relationships. Build friendships. Take God's perspective. Stop taking eHarmony and Match.com's perspectives and all that stuff. I mean, I'm not saying there's anything wrong in and of itself with those websites. I know some really great relationships that has come from people who've met each other online. But again, the exception, not the rule. There's a ton more people out there who has bad experiences than there's people who have good experiences. Because it starts off within the mindset, I'm looking for someone to date. I'm looking for someone to marry. That's how it starts. You don't scroll down that list and say, oh, she looks good. I want to have a friendship with her. No. It's about dating and about relationships. Build friendships first. This is what I want you to do this week. I want you to increase your, have an increase of contemplative moments in your life this week. Increase your contemplative moments. This is what I mean by that. Moments where you have prolonged thinking. You just have your own individualized brainstorming session. I want you to create 2 45-minute windows this week. One 45-minute window where you get alone, no radio, no TV, no people, just all by yourself. Go out to a park bench. It's cool if it's a squirrel or a raccoon out there. As long as you're by yourself, no other people. And I want you to have a pen and a paper or, use a little notes app on your phone. And I want you to consider or think about your current relational status. Just explore your awareness about your current relational status. Everything that you've observed about yourself, everything that you think about this current relational status you're in, everything that you feel, your emotions about this current relational status, everything you desire about your current relational status. Write it all out. Your past actions, your future actions, your current actions. Write it all out on this paper. Just jot down these random thoughts about your current relational status. And then on another day, I want you to take another 45-minute time block. And what I want you to do in this time is I want you to write out what you think that God thinks about your current relational status. Write out, what do you think God has observed about your current relational status? Has he seen you in and out of a lot of relationships? Has he seen you focusing on yourself? What do you think God thinks about your current relational status? What do you think, how do you think God feels about your current relational status? What do you think his desire is for your current relational status? And what has been his actions? Write it all out. And then I want you to do what Larry Page says. I want you to compare, contrast, and correct. That is, take both lists, compare them to one another, look at the contrast, and make the corrections. Because at the end of the day, you want your thoughts to be aligned with God's thoughts. That's the key. It's not knowing you for you in and of itself. It's knowing you in perspective or in relation to what the Father says. You want his thoughts about this whole thing. So you want to line them up. If you don't think the same way God thinks about an issue, then we got to make the correction. We got to make the correction. All we accomplish or fail to accomplish, all we achieve or fail to achieve is a direct result of our own thoughts. So this week, let's change our perspectives. Let's change our thoughts when it comes to dating and being single and relationships and all that stuff, okay? Let's pray. God, thank you again for this time. I thank you for your word. God, I thank you for the way you challenge us to begin to change the way we think about the various things we experience in this life. And so I pray now that you would give us the courage, the wisdom this week to take these contemplative times seriously so that we can begin to see the flaws in our thinking and we can line them up with the perfection of your thinking. God, we want to think the way you think. We want to see the world the way you see it. Help us this week. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Well, good afternoon again to all of you. Special good afternoon to you if this is your very first time joining us here at Zion Church.